What's up? This is Seth with SethPerler.com. I'm an executive function coach out of Boulder, Colorado, and I'm here today to respond to an email that I received that goes as follows. And I'm going to help you guys understand how I look at some of the inequities that we experience here. Hello. I appreciate the concept, but I have a couple of concerns. First, I work in a district that's part of a low-income rural community. Most of the students and their families do not have the income to purchase the supplies that you mentioned in this video. Second, many of the students and parents are not educated or do not value education. I realize the importance of this topic, and I encouraged my students when I was a classroom teacher, but know the financial and attitude struggles students can face. Okay, I really actually appreciate this email, and I think this is very important. And one of the things, okay, first let me explain something. This was in response to a toolkit. So on my website, when you sign up for my website, I send out free videos to help students. And this was in response to tool number 2, where I talk about how important it is to have a sacred study space. How important it is for a student in whether or not they're being homeschooled or in public school or private school or whatever, but for a student to have a sacred study space, a place, a space in the home where they can focus, where they can remove distractions and where they can focus on the things that they need to do for their education, whether it's doing homework, writing papers, reading for class, doing school projects, or whatever it is. Now, most of the people who follow my blog, most of the people are in traditional public schools. But I also have people who homeschool, who unschool, who have private schools, or who are in situations where they're in a low-income rural community or a low-income district or what have you. One of the things for me that has bothered me for my entire career is that the people who can afford what I do, they are not low income. They have a lot of money. And that's fine. I don't really care what kids I serve, but that means that in order for me to be able to make a living and do what I do, that's who I generally serve. So part of the reason that I give away a free blog, and I put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours into designing the blog, making the content, sending it out every single week. I put so much time, effort, heart, and energy into this is so that anybody can access these ideas that I believe in. So that's first of all. And second of all, I also do pro bono stuff, and I have offered many times, and I've done a lot of free talks, and I'm available to people when they need it. I want to help anybody that I can. I want to also address, this email says, work in a district that's low income rural community. Most of the students and their families do not have the income to purchase the supplies you mentioned in this video. It drives me nuts that the minimum wage is as low as it is, that you cannot make a living in this country in 2018, and that I'm working with students because I believe in education and I want them to have a great future, and we are raising kids, excuse me for ranting, but it's painful for me to watch and to know the reality that we are raising kids and educating kids, and we are not preparing them to live in the world that we are raising them in. We are not giving them what they need. And particularly kids who struggle with executive function, particularly these kids that have trouble getting done what needs to get done. They are at so much risk for their future, for not being able to achieve their goals and dreams, for not being able to have a happy and successful future, for having life circumstances, if they can't figure out how to execute, that are going to be very difficult for them. That is not why I do what I do. The reason I do what I do is because I want all students. I don't care from what background, I don't care what religion, I don't care what political leanings, I don't care anything. I want human beings, all children, to be able to grow up and have a happy and successful future. So I share your concerns, and I don't talk about this a lot because I try to keep my blog very focused. I don't talk about politics. I don't talk about my opinions on a lot of things. I try to keep my blog focused on solutions. And kids should have a sacred study space, among other things. But I know that if these kids do not have the income to purchase these things, they are at a disadvantage. And then when you have kids who can afford SAT and ACT courses that are outside of school and things like supplies and tutors and coaches and therapists and all this stuff, it is not fair. It is not right. It is not equitable. It is not okay. But that is the world we live in. Now, I am dedicated to giving you everything that I can give you. On my online course, I have people who ask for scholarships. I do that in different ways for different families depending on what their situations are. I work with live families for free or cheap sometimes. I do what I can do. I would love to help every kid in the world, but I can't. But through the blog, I give away real stuff. So, anyhow, I do understand that a lot of people can't afford this stuff. Now, what I will say is that if you are watching this and you cannot afford the things that I recommend, don't worry about that. What you want to focus on is you want to focus on the principle behind what I am trying to teach. So, for example, I'm standing here at a standing desk right now. If you cannot afford a standing desk, it doesn't matter if it's a standing desk or not. It could be a countertop. It could be a piece of wood. I used to have one that I just nailed to the wall. But it's not about a standing desk. It's about movement. That my ADD brain can focus better with movement. And a lot of the kids that I work with can focus better than sitting all day long for 7 hours in a desk and then coming home and sitting all night long working on homework, which they shouldn't be working on that much homework anyway. They should be moving, but a lot of students can focus better with movement. So football, standing, whatever, it doesn't matter. The concept is movement. So what I want to encourage you to do is that if the things that I teach seem out of reach for you, focus on the principle I'm trying to convey behind it. That's what's really important. So I want to mention that. Am I kind of ranting today? It pisses me off that I know that we are setting up a lot of kids in our country for failure, and we are not giving them the opportunities that they should have. It is not okay, and it disturbs me deeply. And I don't really care about America or in this country. I care about the world. Kids around the world that are not going to have opportunities to self-actualize and do what they want in life and have a good life where they can have their basic human needs met. Anyhow, let me move on. Second, many parents are not educated or do not value education. I realize the importance of this topic and encourage my students, but know the financial and attitude struggles that students can face. I guess what that finally brings me to is this. You talk about the attitude struggles students can face. And I will shut up with this, but one of my other gigantic concerns is that, in my opinion, we often do not teach teachers to be artists who have a craft of serving kids and understanding how to do creatively differentiated curriculum that meets the needs of a diverse base of students. We have overcrowded classrooms. We don't have enough resources. We don't have enough training for teachers. We don't pay teachers enough. We don't give them enough time to do what they need to do. We don't support teachers in the way that they want to be supported to serve. That's why 50% of teachers leave by year 5. Imagine that. 50% of people in this career that spent years becoming a teacher, by their 5th year of their career, they quit. People we need desperately serving kids are so burnt out that they leave, and it drives me crazy. And then we have, a situation where we're telling teachers, follow the curriculum. Don't be an artist. Don't think. Be a robot. Give out these worksheets. Give out this boring stuff. Make kids jump through hoops. Make them comply. And there's just a lot of very, 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 very deeply rooted dysfunction in the system. And well-meaning teachers, well-meaning principals, well-meaning school staff don't even know that they're perpetuating certain mindsets and ideals, and that they're often shaming kids. That is one of the biggest things that I deal with my kids, with my students, with my clients, is that they feel shame that they're getting a message that you're lazy, you're not trying hard enough, you must not care about school, why don't you just do this, why don't you just do that, you're not doing your homework, you're not doing it good enough, redo this, do the corrections, I don't care that you don't have a life at night. Like, teachers will get, I have so many kids who have processing issues or other issues that make their homework, or executive function issues that make their homework that might be 20 minutes take 3 or 4 hours. And some of them just don't do it and avoid it because they can't feel successful. When they do try hard, they are told it's not good enough. And then some of them that do spend all that time and do all that work then don't have time for self-care. Anyhow, I do understand the attitude struggles that you're talking about with that students are facing, where the students are thinking, why should I do this? And I think that is a deeply rooted systemic problem where we are not creating engaging education that engages the students and that makes them feel good about themselves and that capitalizes on their strengths and their interests and their gifts and their talents. Yet we have these boxes that we are putting them in with our curriculum, with our standardization, and our testing practices, and all of these very deeply rooted things that, frankly, gigantic corporations are profiting off of, and they want to perpetuate the story that is increasing profits. That is what they're there for. They're businesses. They want to make money. So they're not interested in changing the system or shaking anything up. They're going to want to prevent that from happening. And the only way that things are going to change is the more educated you, parents, teachers, people who care about kids, the more educated we are about the issues, the more we can look at it with clarity and say, this is not okay. I want this to change, and we need to come together, and yada, yada, yada. And that this energy rises where people come together and demand change. That is the only way things are going to change. So that is enough for me. That was a bit of a rant. I don't usually talk like that, but I think like this all the time. My brain is constantly filtering what my students are going through in terms of, how is this right for the student? Is this really bringing them to be able to launch a great future? Is this really doing what we think it's supposed to be doing or not? How should it be? How can it be changed? How can it be better? What does this kid need in order to create a great future? So it pains me deeply, and that is why I do what I do. It pains me deeply to see any child anywhere on earth not get the education and the opportunities that they need in order to create a good life. It does not make sense in 2018, and it is what drives me to do what I do. I do my part, my way, the best I can do to create my ripple here on earth while I'm here, to make my dent in the universe, as Steve Jobs said. But it is not enough. And there are awesome people, awesome teachers, awesome educators, awesome professionals, awesome parents out there doing a lot of good, but it's not enough yet. Whew. Hi. If you haven't signed up for my blog, it's SethPerler.com. Check it out. And keep fighting the fight and helping kids out. Take care.